This is the Between Extraordinary Part 20. This is the next of our several mid-season restarts in the campaign that we've had. This campaign has had so many big, um, big build up to moments, which I think is great. And we just finished one with the confrontation with the Wolf King. Mr. Constantine is a retired character now. The Short Slugger is also no longer in Hargrave House. And I think perhaps a little bit of time should have passed. The Figs have gone a bit underground. The Coven is not gone underground, but their activities as the Fellowship of Dreamers is mostly of the harmless variety, doing these social calls and social appearances. So things have kind of like quieted down for a bit as we head into a kind of like, this would probably be deep summer, early fall in London. And Sally No Face has started to come up out of the basement, and she just kind of hangs out sometimes now in the house. Um, she, her whole thing now is she's trying to like um, explore different sartorial options beyond her long lab coat, and but she never removes the mask. So it's like she'll be wearing this beautiful frock, but then this like mask, or lately she's been into tailored men's suits, but the mask as well. Um, she's got a number of enthusiasms that she tries to get the remaining members of Hargrave House to participate in. Lately, it's fine dining. You will often come back to Hargrave House to discover that Sally No Face has made some interesting concoction inside of a jelly mold, with bits of meat and fruit floating about in it. And she likes to cook animals whole, but with their faces like kind of peeled off or stuck onto other animals. I mean, she's still, you can take the girl out of the plastic surgery layer, but you can't take that out of the girl. But otherwise, Hargrave House has been pretty calm. London's been fairly calm. Figs, Pigs, and the Coven are still your active threats, and they're ongoing. Jazad has actually been pretty quiet too. Doing a lot of work, actually. He's making a lot of interesting, almost benevolent improvements to the city using Venusian technology. So you will frequently go out onto the streets and discover things being run with strange Venusian power crystals. You'll notice there are more robot type helpers about. Families have even, London families have even managed to get their hands on robot assistants to replace their, doddering old senile butlers. And so London is a very changed place, but it's a very quiet place right now. And given your remit, that can't be the worst thing in the world. But nevertheless, something always shows up on the doorstep. Sometimes vaguely wet some things show up on the doorstep. We have a new character to introduce. Ben, introduce Aiden McPhee with the basics. Look, Vice, your move if you wish.
All right. So I'm playing Aiden McPhee. Uses the pronouns he and him, but he's not particularly strict about anything. He has large and dark eyes, soft hair, and usually wears Doc Hands trousers or things that look very clearly secondhand. His vice is going dancing. And as the Selkie, he starts off with two moves. The first is Severed from the Sea. The person who stole his Selkie skin managed to damage it. It's all torn and ragged as if cut with a knife. And so this move allows me to try and repair it. And things change a little if that happens. And I also have Moonlight Upon the Waves. So I can get a couple of additional benefits during the night phase by putting on my pelt and taking to London's waters.
Fantastic. Let's now go ahead and do your personal quarters here at Hargrave House. I will read the I'll read the little text. Everybody else pay close attention, and then we'll say each one thing we think can be found in Aidan McPhee's eventual personal quarters, or maybe he's already moved in and been there for a bit at Hargrave House. Aidan McPhee, the Selkie. You are not human, though you certainly look the part. You are a Selkie, a seal-like shape-changer born to crashing waves and salty air. Clever and curious, you left the ocean for the surface world, delighting in what the land had to offer. Then you met a thief who stole, first your trust and then your pelt, the very thing that lets you swim the oceans surrounding Great Britain. For months, even years, you languished under them. You eventually escaped, but that dastardly individual had one last trick up their sleeve. Your pelt, your beautiful second skin, is damaged, and only you can repair it. Hargrave House is sheltering you while you help them with the work they do, but it is a tenuous agreement. You refuse to be controlled again, no matter the cost. What do we suppose this urchin off the streets brought with him to Hargrave House?
I'm so tempted to say a beach ball, but I will not.
Please do not. There's probably no such thing anyway.
No, my thought is a straight razor. Simple as that is.
I think that you have a small, oh, what are they called? A cryptext, but it's got Atlantean symbols on the dials.
I don't know what that is. Is that like a code breaking thing?
They have, it's Da Vinci, and it's got little you line up the symbols, and then when you do, you're allowed to open it. So it's like a puzzle box.
Oh, okay. So there's something in it. Okay, interesting. Okay, cool.
You have a pickled shark heart. Pickled shark heart.
I was going to go with you have a bent fork, but I won't do that. Let's say, oh, you don't have a bent fork, but I think you do have I think you have a little aquarium with like a friend in it. What kind of animal do you suppose it is?
So tempted to say flounder, but let's go with an eel.
Okay, great. That's very London, right? Good. Okay. Does it have a name?
Yes.
Okay. So, Aidan McPhee, we're going to do a day phase. I do think we should spend a fair amount of this day phase, at least in the beginning, kind of properly meeting Aidan. I mean, presumably you've all met, but, having a scene where we kind of get to know the character just a little bit better would be great. And also, before we get going, I do think we should talk a little bit about Mr. Constantine and what Mr. Constantine might have left behind at Hargrave House, because those might be things that can be added to other folks' personal quarters. So, Ben, what do you think?
I think he would have left pretty much anything associated with his previous pursuit behind. So, except for one knife, he took one of his blades with him. Romulus, the better one. But looking at the items there, I think he's left most of them except perhaps the tin of fine tea leaves.
Okay. So what does anybody want to raid Mr. Constantine's room while you're making room for Aiden McPhee?
Ben, you had mentioned gifting Remus to Victoria and given her bloodlust need to cut herself to power her engine, or at least previously. I think that I will snag that opportunity.
Cool. And I think there would be a note left with it, as mentioned, saying to not use it on Jakob.
She mutters no promises under her breath.
I think Lady Florence is very interested in those dueling pistols. Whether she knows that one of them fires back at the shooter or not is unclear.
I think the severed clawed hand that moves on its own is intriguing enough to kind of, I don't know, be a memento, remind me of Mr. Constantine as I watch it wriggle about.
We actually have some other housekeeping things to do too from last time. One is, I believe I owe you 2 clues from Lady Cressida. I need to review what her deal is real quick. Antiquities. Okay, antiquities in the ancient world. Got it. Well, do you want these from either of the particular of the threats, or do you care?
Any mix, I think, is fine here. Whatever
All
makes
right.
sense to you narratively.
Let me review the coven then and see because I feel like that's probably more her bailiwick than a family of cannibals, but maybe not. I don't know. There might be some, maybe some ancient cannibal culture that she can speak on. View these really fast. I don't know how she gave you this information, and we don't have to role play the scene. I'm just going to tell you what the clue is, and you can note it down. Connected to the coven. Connected to the coven. Rumors have been swirling around the Fellowship of Dreamers that the hosts of these parties that they are the guests at wake up the next day with tattoos on their arms. The tattoos appear to be pieces of a map, like unfinished maps. And Lady Cressida's interest in this is mostly because there are ancient nomadic peoples she's aware of who, absent some other way of recording information, would frequently record important geographical and topographical information on their bodies in the forms of tattoos. And so, but this is your clue, this idea of pieces of maps in the form of tattoos. The figs. No, I got nothing else for the figs. I'm going to just give you another one for the coven. Lady Cressida, the entire time you were partying with her and talking to her, you noticed something strange. She always referred to the sun as the day star. Very bizarre behavior. Also, one last little bit of housekeeping, Ms. Balakwa. As I was reminded before we started recording, we had talked about you narrating a scene with the demon and the release of the demon of Kilburn Abbey, what that looks like because you were forced to do it. And you'll have to remind me what the implications are for your connection to the dark entities. Like, do you have access to your powers anymore, or what's the deal there?
I still have the condition sun-kissed, which was the impetus for me losing my powers in the first place. But with the time elapse, would you allow some sort of montage in which she could
I'll
slowly
take it.
start
Yeah,
to
I like. We have had some time. Yeah, I like that. Maybe kicking off with the demon release, I think would be great. If you're ready for that.
I think that what we actually see is completely without dialogue. It's just visuals. And we see Miss Balakwa pour a bunch of energy and light into the ring that she got from Rebecca Solomon. This draw that it has to demons. She's going to use those kind of powers and things to break the tie with the poor girl that this demon was bound to. And so what we see is kind of like this demon mist rising out of the corpse of this young girl's body. And as it swirls around the ring, it starts to take on its own corporeal form. And much like building a golem, Victoria is channeling as much of her own power that she can in order to create a dark, shadowy body for this demon. And it is the last act of gratitude that the demon does leave London and heads to the new world. And so Victoria, while not solving the problem, at least casts it out of her backyard.
Nice. And then I'm interested in this montage of how you gain contact with the dark entities again.
So I had taken the move Beacon in the Night. And I think that because during this ritual, I would wander the streets of London at night and all of the dark and terrors would be drawn to Victoria. So we see just a cloaked, shadowy figure on underneath a gas lamp. And you cast back Victoria's cowl, and you can even see like resplendent passing over the moon in silhouette. And as the moonlight is blocked out, you see that her skin is beginning to glow from within, like moonlight, and all of the shadowy entities that had left her start to gather as clouds about her. And so now she's got this strange kind of moonlit duality to her powers. But this is many evenings just trying to draw the spirits back to her.
I love it. Thank you. So day phase. Some of you might need to do the vulnerable move. I'd love to have a scene or two with Mr. McPhee. But otherwise, you have 2 active threats, loads of clues on both of them. I don't think the Coven, the Coven is pretty clear. You got 5 clues on a 6 complexity. It's not nothing. So, and you've got loads of clues on Fig's Pigs. So what do we think? What does everybody want to do today? Mr. Walsh?
I'm still remembering breaking Obert Fig's blade, and I'm concerned that he might have time to repair that, and that we shouldn't leave that maniac out there. So I feel like trying to resolve that to then, lure Obert Fig towards us seems prudent. Also willing to do a vulnerable move if somebody wants to.
Looks like I'm gonna go ahead and hide Dom if everybody's okay with that. It looks like Ms. Balakwa sure could use it, but Lady Florence is okay, I guess. Well, Ms. Balakwa, what do you want to do today?
Could you remind me, is the coven on a traditional timer like the Shoreditch Slugger? What, or was there a certain number of night phase that we had to resolve it by, or am I just imagining that?
To look. Yep, they are on a timer, but you've still got a few night phases. You should be okay.
Okay. Then I think I need to frame up a vulnerable move, but not with my vice.
Lady Florence, what do you want to do today?
I think that I find the figs to be sort of like an annoying, like a gnat around us. And so I kind of just want to like snuff that out, I think. Like there's been enough that's just been irritating about the figs to Lady Florence that I think that she just is like, I just need to get this out of the way.
One thing about the figs, which is worth pointing out mechanically, is only the last of the three of them has to be resolved at night. You can pursue the other two opportunities anytime you want. Yeah. So
got it.
That's one thing worth kind of pointing out. Aiden, I'll ask you what you want to do, but first I want to have a scene with the whole group. You're all in a sitting room, which has an incredible number of towering floral arrangements in it. No emerald orchids, happily, but loads of flowers. And as you're all kind of gathering in this sitting room for this scene, maybe it's just early in the day, kind of taking coffee or whatever, Sally No Face is in this room, and she is wearing like gardening overalls and like her long black gloves, and she has she's kind of standing in front of this like enormous urn with all manner of willow branch and hydrangea and all kinds of like flowers and things. And who's the first one in?
I think Lady Florence has actually been with the disappearance of Shoreditch Slugger. Lady Florence is looking for something new to study, and she knows that she's feeling like knives might be her thing now. She's gotten over the
knife era.
fisticuffs and
Yeah.
fists and feet, and so yeah, maybe this is knife time, and so she's kind of prodding at Sally No Face about the proper use of a blade.
Lady Florence, good morning.
Sally,
The skin on your face is looking especially dewy and vibrant today.
it is, isn't it? Tell me, what would you do with it, given all opportunity?
Given all opportunity, my goodness. Well, as you know, I'm quite skilled with the scalpel, and before my run-ins with the law, I was engaged in some rather innovative and indeed groundbreaking, I would say, work in the field of plastic surgery. I would carefully, most skillfully, deft of hand, remove the outer epidermis of your face.
Yes, and I
And
pull out
then...
I've got one of her faces.
Oh,
And so I'm going to pull it out, and as she's talking, like also saying like, yes, I've seen your handicraft.
not my best work, that one, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, there does appear to be a slight rough cut here. I'm assuming that that was not intentional.
It was not intentional. I, my, my patient was taking some exception to me removing their face while they were, uh, uh, indeed alive still and not entirely anesthetized, and so they bumped my hand in their thrashing about.
Hmm.
It was a mistake I won't
Hmm.
ever make again. Because, of
In
course,
such
I'll never try to remove the face of anyone ever again.
Oh, that would be a tragedy, though. I would love to see your handiwork up close. Tell me, when someone is struggling and does not want to be sliced in the way that you are so artful about, is it more pressure or is it more a flick of the wrist that helps you get past that tension?
Oh, it's all in the wrist, Lady Florence. That's the answer to most of life's questions and conundrums. It's all in the wrist. Every problem can be solved with a deft hand, I find.
Hmm. Lady Florence is delighted. The Shortage Slugger would not was like very cagey about his fighting information, and she is just loving the fact that Sally No Face is so
You know, if
forthcoming.
you feel up to it, and of course, if Mr. Walsh can loosen the reins for a night, I would be happy to, well, go out into East London where, frankly, no one will care if anyone
Hmm.
goes missing, and we can try this out.
Hmm. I think I may be able to arrange that. I'm very intrigued by this whole idea. You'll be
We'll start
justly
on
compensated,
children.
of course.
The skin of
Children are
children is
perfect,
so
really. Yeah.
supple and elastic, it's very easy to work with.
Will we get enough practice with the children, though? It feels like they would
My goodness, have
not
you
be able to
seen the
resist.
absolute herds of urchins that are crawling about the streets? There's plenty to go around, I assure
Okay, so
you.
it's more of a quantity over quality thing.
I feel like this is where you hear the sound of a knife scraping butter on toast, and Jakob is standing in the doorway, like, oh, excuse me, what? What are you two
Nothing,
talking?
Mr. Walsh. I'm just. And then she like uses her scalpel to like prune a little branch. Currently engaged in my enthusiasm for floral arrangement.
Just keep the arranging within a Hargrave House. Remember, we talked about a change in your ways and a chance at redemption. I think
Yes,
that
I'm entirely reformed, Mr. Walsh, I assure you.
record time, no doubt.
He's very innocent. I raised him well. In that I
Ms.
did not
Balakwa,
raise him at
you
all.
should be next in, I think.
Jakob, I'm afraid that you're far too optimistic. Good
Oh, the
morning,
lovely Miss Balakwa.
Miss No Face.
You were for a time getting such an admirable color in your cheeks, but I noticed as of late you have gone back to that very distinct Balaquian alabaster tone. How are you feeling, my dear?
I would feel much better if you did not comment on the supple color nature of my skin every time I walked into a room. Why don't you go back to Lady Florence and your preoccupations elsewhere?
She
She
goes
goes to
back.
the sideboard for some tea.
Mhm. And finally, Mr. McPhee, your grand entrance here.
I think you'll hear him first from down the hall, calling out, ma'am, ma'am. And uh, before stepping into the room, holding a pair of shoes, looking a little bit confused and bewildered by everyone standing here. And he speaks with I think it's something very much like a Scottish accent, but it's not quite right. And he'll just say, "Oh, is that a face?"
Lady
Morning,
Florence.
Mr. Mc. Oh. Good
Lady Florence
morning,
crumples
Mr.
up.
McPhee.
Lady Florence, go.
Lady Florence crumples up the face and puts it into, uh, yeah. Her
Make sure he
pouch.
knows it's not my best work.
If it comes up, I will. Don't worry.
Good morning, Mr. McPhee. I'm afraid that Lady Florence is encouraging some behavior. Yes, that's a face. It was recently one of our, well, concluded issues as we dealt with it.
People are always leaving their skins lying around, I find.
You're always leaving skins around, I find.
Perhaps we have that in common, Mr. McPhee.
And she leaves.
No, we're just telling everyone, are we, Lady Florence?
I have not said a thing. This is Mr. McPhee, everyone. I'm assuming that this is the introduction of him, or
Whatever you think.
Hello, yes.
It's like, greetings, would you care for some toast?
Yes,
Sally,
please.
a pretty excellent blood pudding too, if that's your thing for breakfast. I don't know.
I'll give anything a shot.
Well,
But first, these laces, do you take them out each time, or just when special occasions?
oh, you and Jakob are going to get along smashingly, Mr. McPhee.
Oh, good. Toast.
yeah, I really don't know why they switched from buttons on shoes. The buttons seem a little more logical to me.
Much easier, yes.
I think
And he'll sit down.
Victoria's going to pull Lady Florence aside and whisper hushed things while they're having a very innocent conversation about shoes. Really? Another one?
Never really have too many, can you?
I mean, for me personally, one child was enough, but you seem to.
Oh, it's not like that, Victoria.
That's what you said last time.
Last time I just didn't say anything at all. This time I can assure you there is no relation with such a creature.
Well, your assurances are as clear as your intentions.
Have you seen the grown ones in the wild?
I don't know. His hair looks rather soft.
Hideous beasts, really.
I think that's that.
Well, if there's nothing else, we can get these vulnerable move. This is a good chance for folks to break off if they want to, whoever needs to. I think it's just Ms. Balakwa that needs to, but so Ms. Balakwa, I'll leave you in control here. Who are you going to break off with?
Sarah, given what we were talking about in chat, do we want to essentially say that our scene happened right before this luncheon?
We certainly could.
It works for me.
There was a moment where in the early morning, Jakob could hear Victoria cry out in what sounds like pain from her quarters.
And the sound of a struggle. And, knowing that danger can rise up at any moment in Hargrave House, Jakob, knocks on the door and then just kind of bashes it open, thinking that Miss Block was being attacked.
And what you actually see when you burst through the door, probably through the hinges even, is what could only be described as like an egg chair of dark entities that are just swirling around Victoria in a way that you can see tiny pieces of naked flesh. And she is having a pretty fabulous orgasm.
That's hilarious because I just bought an egg chair for the new place.
Amazing. Dark entities fill your chair, and
yeah, well, it was an outdoor egg chair, but yeah.
I freeze up in the doorway and kind of have a moment of like, is there action to be taken? And then like, oh, and starting to try and back out, picking up the sort of busted door to try and put the busted door back in place. And say, I'm terribly sorry. I thought the sounds I heard were a struggle. They were a struggle, but a different, the struggle of danger, and was just concerned for your well-being, Miss Belacqua. Pardon me.
Jakob, you have truly some of the worst timing. And you'll see her just kind of pull a leg out and step out of the chair and then into a robe. Must you save everyone?
Oh, I see your point. Yes. Perhaps not. Some restraint might be in order next time. I take it there will be next time. This is a habit of yours.
Are you angling for an invitation?
Oh, no. I don't. No, I don't think so. But just good to be aware of these, and I'm assuming it meets.
Calm down. It's just sex, Jakob. With, dark entities in like totally normalized behavior for Victoria, but
yeah, well, on the farm, there's plenty, that's where do you think sheep come from? We know all about this, but that was a little different than Welsh farming techniques.
Well, your Welsh farms aside, I suppose it is something close to endearing that you cared.
Did Jakob just bring up animal husbandry in the middle of this conversation?
Yes, I'm really trying to not lose patience, and it seems impossible. Seems impossible for me to clear this particular condition with him.
By the way, are you angling to clear Sunkissed or a different one?
No, I was trying to make peace so I could finally not lose patience anymore, and it just seems that every time I try to clear this condition with Jakob, he does something like bring up husbandry.
Well, if it's about the delight of the senses, I could arrange to get you some sheepskins. They're very lovely to recline on. The sense of touch is great. The lanolin's so good for your skin. Could definitely have my family send some to you. Do you prefer the Badger Face Mountain, or do you have a preference in sheepskins?
I think that at this point, Victoria is going to take a deep breath and exhale so completely that some of the black Icarus smoke that has rejoined her presence fogs her breath. And she says, Jakob, I appreciate the fact that you cared, but you broke down my door and you're offering me sheep. I think it's probably just best if we try to remain professional, don't you?
I take your point, and I suppose that the way things keep changing in London, I should be getting used to this. Like, Venusians are just an everyday sight at this point. This gestures at your room is probably nothing more out of the ordinary than that.
There's something very charming about the fact that you just don't see quite how out of the ordinary you are, Jakob. I suppose I will just have to forgive your perpetual ignorance fueled by your optimism.
I've been having thoughts about that my out of the ordinary nature, kind of my fingers pop apart here and a display. My out of the ordinary nature, I think there's something to that I'm finally learned, or I'm learning what I came here to Hargrave House to discover. I feel like I need to talk to Lady Florence about it a bit more, but I'm I'm not from around here, I don't think.
Well, that should be fairly obvious to anyone that meets you. Well, make sure you fix that door. I am not going to do it myself.
That feels like a good
Right on it.
cut. Let's remind ourselves how the move works really quickly.
Actually, this happening before breakfast makes Victoria's entrance line of trying to save everybody even more hilarious.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Okay, so I think if you want to go ahead and clear losing patience, Ms. Malacqua, you can.
Thank you.
Mr. Walsh, do you want to make a case for? I mean, you might be able to make a case. Well, I don't know. Clearing those are two tough conditions to clear because you're kind of central to all their plans. But how might you no longer be affected by the condition? I think that might be the more interesting question.
Yeah, I think what I'm leaning toward, I think it's still too good to be affected by the coven or marked by the covenants. I think I should keep that. What I'm thinking though is that as I'm coming into understanding my Martian nature, that perhaps I'm no longer so intimidated by Jasad.
I'm into that. Okay, that's good. So you can clear that one. And then Ms. Balakwa, you get to either stumble on a clue or invite Mr. Walsh to ask you a question about the past if you can endure that conversation.
Let's just find a clue.
All right. And per the move, it says you have to tell me what it is. So be thinking on that for either of your active threats. Lady Florence, Aiden McPhee, let's figure out where you're going to be and then we'll take a quick break. So yeah, do you want a scene together? Do you want to go do something together? What do you have in mind? Do you want to answer a question about the figs?
Ooh.
Maybe having a animal can help you with learning about animals.
So
So can I ask a question about the Selkie as I am, and I guess Ben, how you intend on playing it with the severed from the sea and like the pelt thing is like the repairing of the pelt like a quest of the character, I guess. So that's because I'm kind of wondering if this sort of like this interest that Lady Florence has in like cutting and surgery and Sally No Face stuff all of a sudden could apply to Aiden's own attempts to try and repair this pelt in the same way that like Sally No Face is like removing skins and doing that end of the
I mean, if you want to hand it over to her, she'll give it her best shot, Aiden.
But I just wonder if that like association of kind of like if we go do something and I bring Sally No Face along with us, if you would also have interest in the science, the art and science of what Sally No Face is doing in some way, that might be something that ties the ulterior motives here together. I don't know.
I think that makes sense.
I kind of like the idea of using Sally No Face as a way of finding clues as well. Like that could be really intriguing, right? Okay, well, so then what do you want to do?
We have a lot of clues on Fig's Figures.
We do. We
could take a break so you can look at the clues if you want. I mean, and then come back and answer a question.
Yeah, maybe
I tossed out a maybe idea here of you've got Sally No Face, who's essentially an expert in blades. Overt, also a user of sharp tools. If we're looking at clues for Overt Fig, and the question to answer is what type of victim does he prefer? You've got enough players on the table that kind of can deal with shared interests, and then try to lure him with that sort of shared interest aspect.
I mean, if we're answering questions, I think there's plenty of evidence to say that Obert likes women of a sociable status and fancy like a particular age range and social status, with the shoes and opera tickets and such.
Should we break and strategize here?
Yeah, we can
Let's
do
do
that.
it.
Let's take 10.
Okay.
So you all have been theorizing off mic. Do you care to share it with me? What have you come up with?
We have been leaning into the La Hortensia aspect of the mystery, trying to figure out what she lost and is trying to recapture or remember. Partly our plot here is that if we can find and capture her, that we will in turn sort of use her as a lure for one or both of the others. We are thinking a lot about her role in the opera. Initially, it was that she may have crossed paths or been involved with the sculptor, but I think that we've sort of shifted to her being a performer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
In the opera.
Oh.
And so part of it is that I think the big part of it is that she as her family has become more murderous and is enjoying that joy, she is also nostalgic for this different time
Okay. So
of her life.
Oh, I see. So she wants to like recapture kind of her life before all of this.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were the space we were playing around in.
So that accounts for the opera tickets. What other and in particular there was like a little note that said it was that they were a gift to quote my love, so possibly from Phineas Fig, is that his name, or whoever the dad is, to her.
Yeah. We talked about the pink satin shoe encrusted with jewels being part of her costume for
yeah, I like
some
that.
performance.
Oh yeah, that's good.
She has the one shoe that she kept as a souvenir. The other one is potentially in the prop department still.
Okay, yeah, I
And
like
so there's both metaphorical and literal
Yeah.
recapturing there. And then that's kind of when you jumped in, is we were trying to figure out what is that. I think we're shooting for 3 clues here. What would be that final piece of the puzzle?
I mean, maybe the monogram handkerchiefs might be something. Maybe like you can add some interesting context that like this was a gift that men gave to her, after her
I like that
performances or
idea
something
of
like
it's
that.
sort of
Yeah.
like the
You're throwing a
the
rose or
underwear
whatever,
being
or
thrown
tokens
at
of roses.
Elvis or
It's a
whatever.
handkerchief, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
it became
these
kind of a
handkerchiefs.
thing with her, like throwing her one of these like handkerchiefs. Yeah,
I like the
I love it.
idea.
I think it's great. Yeah.
And then I have a TBD clue I'm just going to write in here that isn't specific yet.
Okay, but do you want to go ahead and roll for this one?
Roll with the +1. I think that's probably the most economical and efficient way to do this.
Yeah, who wants to roll it?
Mike's arm's already wiggling.
I wish it wasn't. That is a 5 with
5.
the +1.
You are wrong. Unless you want to bump it up to a 7 to 9, that is incorrect, and I will have a reaction for you. So your choice is yours.
We all have to check a mask in order to.
You must indeed
all Mask of the Pig.
Mark a mask. Is the Mask of the Pig still available? It might be.
I'm game.
That's gonna
Well,
for one of
Mask of the
you.
Pig is just one, so
That's
we
just for
also
one
have
of
to
you.
do.
I'm
Yeah.
Oh,
game
I thought we
marking.
need more,
I'm game
yeah.
marking something off my sheet as well. So
Okay.
Oh, got it. I don't know if I can afford to mark anything off my sheet directly.
No. Yeah, I mean, Aiden's good. I
Yep.
know that Mr. Walsh is probably pretty close to not being good. I don't know about Miss Block. I haven't looked at Miss Block was in a bit.
I've got like a couple, but just I need to make it through the coven, guys. All right, I'll do it. I'll do
Great.
it. I'm marking it.
That's so Jacob, is really up to you. Are you going to do it or not, or you want to take the Mask of the Pig?
If I can take the Mask of the Pig, I'm in
Okay.
in to do it. But is that okay with
That
you, Sarah?
means Lady Florence, you have to
Swap
mark
those
another one.
Oh, you only have the one mask.
Yeah, I won, and then after that, the last one is retirement.
Yeah.
No, because the Gilded Door has been
You
taken.
can't take Gildor. Yeah.
No, I can. I'm the Martian.
Oh, is that something?
Oh,
you can
that's
do?
right.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Wait, do you take it from me?
No, it just
No.
works differently, I think.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
cool.
differently.
I promise
All right,
I
I'll
wrote
mark
it,
one.
but I can't remember. Okay.
I just
Aiden,
have to
assume
mark
you're
the
okay
one,
marking
right?
You just the one, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm good with that. I am down to the wire here, but I kind of want to be, so yeah.
Okay, so the opportunity you've earned now that you're correct, or now that you've bumped it up and indeed you're correct, is to find her and then capture or destroy her. So on a 7 to 9, she's going to resist this. It won't be so easy. You might have to do a couple of rolls to really truly capture her. We know already that she's very fond of setting traps, so you might have to encounter some of her traps. And so that's where we're at with Lartensia. Do you want to make a stab at any of the other figs?
I mean, let's stab all of the figs, shall we?
I mean, you got plenty of clues if you want to go for another question. So,
Well, I think we were leaning towards Patrick being a young man who thinks that he is a kitty cat.
okay.
The clues kind of pointing in that direction were a collar and leash, I think cats or dogs at that point.
That makes sense to
The
me.
perfectly preserved mouse skeletons.
Love that.
And
Okay.
the children's book of stories with
All
of
references
the
to birds
references
crossed
birds
out.
crossed
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's perfect, actually. Do you want to roll that one? That's great.
Yeah, I'll do the thing.
Wait.
Do we wanna
Wait,
add
I
one
won't do
more?
the thing.
Wait.
Wait.
Everyone's
Please.
a little gun shy now.
Masks.
I think we need a +2.
Okay, everyone's a little gun shy.
Again, mechanically, like Figs Pigs is simpler than it appears because there's 3 rolls, and as we saw, like there's high, like now I'm getting all like game mechanic-y, but
No, it's here to be game
especially
mechanics,
that we
yeah.
just spent a
4
lot of
masks.
resources.
Yeah, to
I
catch
think
one
that we
fig.
should
Yeah.
I think we should +2, if not +3 on this, just to solidify it. We don't need to speed run this one.
Yeah, the other thing is we can be wrong.
All right.
Could be
all right,
wrong
all right.
too, yeah.
We could be wrong
So-
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then also the clue that Victoria discovers after Jakob leaves her room, she kind of like casts her gaze over her to her bedchamber, and she's got all of these like latch hook pillows and such, and they're stitched, and she's like, oh, wait a second. And she remembers that in the figs apartments above the, what do you call it, bakery, that there were conspicuously bits like yarn
Oh,
things, like in the corners. Like,
Good.
and it seemed like nothing at the time. It just seemed like trash, but nope.
Cat toys. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I love it. Okay, great. So that's that would put you to +2 then.
You feel better about that, Mike? Yeah, okay.
Let's roll +2. It's a legit concern to have this late in the campaign. So
Sure.
yeah.
I'm okay being wrong, but these dice loved me this morning. So that's an 11.
11, very good. So the opportunity associated with that is to
Here,
lure the cat to you and then capture or destroy him, and it will be very easy because you got a 10+. So Okay, that leaves you with one clue remaining on this mystery. I assume you're going to want to find some more before you have a go at Obertfeg. So, yeah, but these two can be resolved in the day. So, if you wanted to spend part of your day phases doing that, you certainly can. Um, so, I do want to check in with Lady Florence and Aiden. Then, at that point, what do we want to do today? After while they're having their incredibly awkward conversation about animal husbandry.
I think Aiden would follow wherever Lady Florence is going.
Delightful. Let's head to the opera then. How does
I was
that
just
sound?
watching YouTube videos this morning of this Japanese, believe it's a Japanese couple who have two sea otters that live with them. And
I have seen those videos.
those are great videos. They're really amusing. Yeah. I know it's not the same thing as a seal, but it's amusing to me to think about Aiden following around Lady Florence. Do you have scallops in your pocket, Lady Florence?
It's especially funny because Lady Florence, like meta funny for me because Lady Florence followed Dom everywhere. So this role reversal's
It
super
is
cute.
kind of
Oh.
funny. Yeah, it's good. Okay, well, so Lady Florence, where you headed?
I think we're gonna head to the opera and let's I kind of want to try and do like a dual thing of maybe like capturing La Hortensia while also doing a little bit of investigation on the pigs thing as well.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that feels like a good move. Let's have a chance to see Aiden in action. Are you taking Sally No Face too?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. She's all done up for the opera, even though it's the middle of the day and there's no show going on. She's wearing a tuxedo and a top hat, and she looks quite conspicuous uh, in every way. So if you're going for something subtle, if you're going for a subtle approach, know that she is not dressed for subtlety right now. Oh, I love the opera.
It
Why?
is.
Well, it's an opportunity to see people who are very, very talented at what they do express themselves, express that talent, that creativity to its fullness. When you see people sing like the angels, it's almost like you're getting close to touching creation itself. Note, I did not say God. I am an atheist, but I do believe in a general power of creation and a creative spark.
What's the difference?
The difference is one comes with all sorts of baggage and judgment. The other is humanity, a view of humanity at its highest form, its highest self.
Interesting. I like that.
Oh, yes. Yes. I am a veritable font of humanistic philosophy. We should certainly talk sometime.
Yes, yes. Your mask is very frightening.
Oh, do you think so?
Yes.
It's just an old habit.
Nuns wear those, I think.
And she sort of rolls her eyes, though you can't see it so much under the mask. And she says,
Well, I'm going to go find my favorite box, if you don't mind. Let me know if you need my assistance. I do hope there is a delightful young ingenue rehearsing right now.
They dance at operas, don't they, lady?
Yes, yes, but I'm rarely that interested in whatever happens below the neck.
And he'll approach Lady Florence and, where do you find these people?
Oh, out and about, really. All sorts of places. London is an incredible place. How long have you been here?
Oh, here? London?
London, yes.
3 days?
3 days. It really takes about 4 or 5 before you start getting the hang of things, and people start giving you the time of day, but um, you're close to it.
Good.
I can tell that you're acclimating well.
Yes, I got the shoes on correctly this time. There's one for each foot, and they're different.
Oh, marvelous. Did you learn that from Jakob?
He's very helpful.
He is such a bright boy.
So what's
Has
your
a-
approach here?
Um,
I mean,
So-
like you can walk into the opera house, like no one's going to stop you from doing that. But there's only just a few workers, and there might be some people rehearsing, on stage, but it's not. There's really nothing else going on otherwise.
my suspicion and what I want to look into here is the concession stand might be an inn in that the meat pies may be on the menu. And so maybe that's a reason for the figs to come to the opera, is to deliver the day's supply. And I would like to investigate the day's supply a little bit too. Poke
There's a
around
chance
there.
that they may have done that in the past. They have not had access to their pie shop since
Oh, that's right.
Scotland Yard.
Maybe there's some old ones.
Yeah, there could be, or it could just be that maybe the figs have done business with this venue before, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
I could just kind of ask about, yeah.
Yeah. But
If we find that
I,
it's
in
good.
general, though, I see where you're going with that, so I'm into it.
If
There
we
would
find that
probably
Hortense is
be,
just undercover working for another pie manufacturer.
yeah, it's good. I think there would probably be like, it would probably be a situation where there are like vendors outside the venue,
Okay.
who would sell, things like that. There might even be somebody who's there selling pies. So,
Mhm, mhm.
And so, what do you do?
I think I'll look for a vendor that is the closest thing to selling meat pies. And yeah, I kind of want to ask if they would recognize the figs, if they know how the figs came, if the figs particularly might have seen La Hortensia like going into the opera at various points, that type of thing, to kind of understand like how she went in, how she operated when she was here.
I love it. Go ahead and make the information move with presence, and we'll see how that goes. What are you doing, Aiden?
He is going to want to see if there's a rehearsal going on or something like that. He's going to want to see that. So head toward the stage.
Yeah, you'll definitely see the director of the current production with a couple of the singers, and they're doing some, I don't know these terms. I'm going to just make up a term that sounds right, like scene blocking. I don't know what that means. And there's, they're kind of, doing stage direction and all that kind of business. And yes, what do you do?
He's going to approach just in awe of the way this is all being set up, and probably being quite conspicuous as he is probably reaching the stage and just resting with his elbows on the end, just watching.
I think the director is like, stop, everyone. He's a nebbishy looking little man with a small curly mustache and a bald pate. And he says, can we help you?
Oh, I don't think so.
We're in the middle of a rehearsal, friend.
Yes, you're doing so well.
And then I think someone on stage is like, thank you. and the director's like, you can't just wander in off the streets to watch rehearsal. You have to pay your pennies to watch this show. And well, furthermore, you're quite a distraction. And why don't your shoes match?
I was in a hurry. Can I help you?
No. Incredible. Incredible.
Thank
D-
you.
Are you are you even are you even do you even have any experience in opera or the theater?
No, not particularly, but I love to dance.
Or you're a dancer?
Yes.
Interesting. And then he kind of like now he's kind of like making sport of you a little bit to the rest of the assembled crew and folks. He's like, do we all want to have a little impromptu audition for our friend here? We'll let you up on stage, friend, and you can dance, and we'll all decide whether we think you can join our company or not.
Yes, that sounds great. And he'll clamber on up
All
on
right,
stage.
then. Mary, why don't you play us? Do you have a preference in music?
Oh, something fast.
Something fast, Mary. A rig or jig. Something big. Play on, play on. And Mary begins hammering out something on the piano. Are you going to actually try to impress them with your dancing skills?
I mean, he's going to dance. Whether it impresses them is almost entirely divorced from his
So,
goal.
what are you trying to accomplish then?
He's going to dance in the hopes that they will, if not be impressed, perhaps allow him to start asking more questions, such as,
Take you on as
have
a
you seen a
mascot.
woman? Or that.
I like it. Let's see if you can kind of get them to drop their defenses here. We'll make this a day move with vitality. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
He'll be laughed out of the place.
Go ahead and roll.
10.
Very nice. Be thinking about what it looks like, your impressive dancing, and or at least your ability to ingratiate yourself. Like it's very good. People who are just listening to the audio, this won't know what we're all laughing about, but that's okay. They should go watch it on YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to check in with Lady Florence in a bit. I do want to go back to the other two characters for a moment. So once you're done with your situation here, what do we? Where are we headed, Miss Belacqua?
I think that once she, like, I guess this was husbandry and then downstairs with Aiden, and she goes back upstairs to her egg chair.
Yeah.
And I would like to use my move Void Walker to go into the void, gain some insights into the coven, and figure
Love
out
it.
what my nasty, dirty aunts are up to.
They are wretched, wretched people. Let's read Voidwalker to remind ourselves how it works.
So
You
I
use
use
an
an
object of
object.
power. Yeah, sorry. You use an object of power to attune to the void, to the fragrant void. Roll sensitivity. On a hit, you travel there and gain keen insight to a threat of your choice. I give you 2 clues. On a 10 plus, no entity from the void will disturb you. That feels like the important part. And then on a miss, you unmark the cosmic passage and then cross it off your sheet, which is an interesting outcome. What's your object of power? Because you used to use the demon.
I first time I used a item in my quarters, it was a black lacquered box with something beating inside of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm into
This
that.
time around, I would like to use the glowing yellow rock I found on 3 Mills Island after all that portal nonsense, because that seems real relevant.
I think it's like a piece of uranium, but okay. Let's see how it goes.
I like the idea
You
of
don't
the
know what
glowing
it is.
yellow
Yeah.
rock in the middle of all of my swirling
Yeah.
darkness.
You're just like, oh, whatever,
So.
I'll handle it. Go ahead
I'm not
and
going to live
roll.
long enough for cancer.
Yeah, roll with sensitivity. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. +3 is a 10.
Nice. Okay, you've got that. We'll talk about what that ritual looks like in a bit.
Mhm.
Let me check in with Lady Florence. This this street vendor, this food vendor, he says, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know the figs. I used to sell their pies over around this way. Just pick them up, load the cart up, and bring them out. Oh, people loved a figs pig. Delicious, delicious. I don't truck with those rumors about the family. I think, well, that's a family that's been through a lot. And a family that has been through as much as they've been through and has stuck together for all those years, even after all of that. I can't imagine them turning to something like as ghoulish as what people have been saying. You know about what they went through, don't you?"
I've heard bits and pieces here and there, minced up bits of the story.
It's a dark tale. It's a dark, dark tale, my friend. Well, I've heard different versions of it, but all of them sort of fundamentally boil down to this idea that when the boys were younger, she, La Hortensia, and the boys were trapped. Some people say in a cave-in. Some people say they were trapped in a mine. Some people say they were caught down inside a big steel vat with no one to hear their cries for help. No matter where they were, though, they were trapped.
Mhm.
And it must have been for a terrible number of days. So terrible, in fact, that they began to starve. But that woman, she is nothing else if not a good mother. She allowed her boys to eat her arm in order to stay alive.
In order to have the appetite for eating an arm, it must have been, what, 12 days? No less?
I'm not a man of science. I don't know.
Hmm.
But imagine the dedication it takes to let your children eat part of you in order to stay alive. I suppose, well, my goodness, I've almost talked myself into thinking they really could have put what they're alleged to have put inside their pies.
Have.
Perhaps the strange behavior of her boys, of the whole family, is just a response to that terrible trauma they suffered.
It would make sense, wouldn't it?
I would. Shame, dreadful shame.
Have you seen any of them about? Do they still stick together? Or are their bonds fading over time?
Couldn't say. But you're not the first person to come asking around. I've talked to quite a few fellas from Scotland Yard. You're not with them, are you?
Oh, no. Amateurs, really.
Right. You want a pie?
I would love a pie. We ran over here right from the house, didn't even have a chance to have tea.
This one here is delicious. And he cuts it open and the gravy dribbles out.
How do I eat a pie?
You just pick it up and bite it, friend.
There's no silverware.
There's no silverware, friend. You just pick it up and put your teeth into it.
Oh, delectable.
And fantastic. That's your clue, though. The clue is the backstory of the family. Very good. Let's check in with Mr. Walsh for a moment.
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh, where do we leave you?
In the parlor with the butter on toast, I think. So my thought is, given my interest in child welfare and wanting to make sure that nobody murders poor Patrick Fig whenever he could be rehabilitated, that I'm going to go try to lure the kitten out in the open. We established a cat.
Yeah, what's your approach?
Well, so Mr. Constantine left behind this severed hand that moves of its own volition.
I can see where this is
And-
going.
Yep, you know exactly where this is going. And I'm going to take one of my lovely Welsh mountain wool sweaters and unravel it to make a string, tie that string onto the hand, go to I forget what neighborhood their house is in.
They're in, I think, Shoreditch, but let me
Okay.
look. I could be wrong. Hold on.
What did it say?
It.
Oh yeah, it is in Shoreditch, you're right. Yeah.
Shoreditch. Yeah.
So go to Shoreditch and essentially meander the streets for a bit, dragging this twitching hand behind me and calling it out, here, kitty, 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 here, kitty, kitty, until he comes out, and then we're gonna have a talk. Is the hope?
You got a 10 plus on this, right? On the question. It works. Yeah. You get down an alley and you see Patrick Fig, who in fact is not a cat, but is in fact a young man in his late teens, possibly early 20s. He stinks quite badly, and his clothes are in terrible repair. But he didn't venture far from the pie shop. That's ultimately where you draw him out. And he crawls, and he's doing that thing that cats do where they like get down on their haunches and they look at the hand. They look at it and they act like they're not interested for a minute while it goes back and forth. And then they like scrambles after it, right? And eventually he'll get so caught up in play that he will get close enough for you to dispatch him, and however you're going to do so, or capture him, or whatever you're going to do.
We're going to capture him. I'm going to. Well, I'll just talk it out. As he's playing with this, I'll say, Patrick, I can see your animal nature, and I think with a little bit of training, you might grow into something a little more like what your imagination sees. And then from there, my legs separate out and say, I also am four-legged, and the legs split apart. And I say, why don't you come with me to Hargrave House? Miss Florence has a habit of taking in strays, and
do you take your trousers off so that your legs can split apart?
Don't remember Sally made me kind of a kilted skirt sort of.
Oh, that's right. Yes, very good,
so that I could adapt to my new conditions or my metamorphosis. So my trousers are kind of a little more fancy than would be fashionable for the region for sure. Kind of display the physique of myself, being a four-legged being, and then convince him to come along.
He rubs up against your forelegs in turn, and he makes no audible response, though he does start grooming himself by licking his wrist and then running it over his head. And it seems like he'll follow you.
Whether we need another stray in Hargrave House or not, I don't know. We seem to have so many, but perhaps Lady Florence has donated generously to a home for wayward youth or something that's more appropriate. He did have a good family life, so it seems like he needs some kind of care.
Patrick Fig is sorted. We can mark that opportunity done. That just leaves La Hortensia and Obert. Ms. Belacqua, give us the scene here. When you reach the fragrant void, what does it look like?
I think that I hit with such success that I actually find myself on top of the same kind of pillar sort of structure in this misty
sort of this misty vast misty plain atop these like large black gold veined marble pillar things. Yeah, they're vast.
So she goes from closing her eyes and holding this glowing stone, sitting cross-legged in her
It's Control, the video game Control. If anybody's ever played it, that's what it looks like. So yeah, just so we're all very clear about that.
Yep. Then through this control, Victoria is able to arrive once again. She kind of like brushes off the black vapors around her, so it is unfolded into a large skirt, and she looks out into the void to see what might have changed since the last time that she's been here, or if perhaps she sees Phineas. Even though things aren't going to interfere with me, I still might gain some clues that way.
That's right. You met an individual called Phineas.
Mhm.
How intriguing. Very intriguing indeed. Oh, Titus is the name of the fig, father. I knew I had that wrong. I think I was thinking of this character, Phineas.
Well,
That
if
man
I
shows up
recall,
again.
he's just an eyeball.
Yeah, he's an eyeball, but wearing a red velvet smoking jacket. His
Excellent.
head's just an eyeball.
Mhm.
And he says, hello, fellow traveler. We meet again.
Oh, hello once more. Actually, I was hoping to run into you.
The void provides.
I certainly have found it to do so. You haven't heard of the Society of Dreamers, have you?
Out of character, it's the Fellowship of Dreamers.
Thank you.
The Society of Dreamers is an excellent role-playing game by Matthias Holter, but the Fellowship of Dreamers is is what the Coven is going under. He says, no, I don't know who you're speaking to or speaking of, but as I approach you, as I'm near you now, I can sense that you are being watched. There are people who are tapping into the power of this place to observe you. Are these possibly the same people?
Quite. Darn, I thought that perhaps you being so removed from my own time and space, you might have some insight to offer. No, unfortunately, I had this harebrained idea that they were trying to open doors here.
Do you all keep... Oh, I didn't know if you froze up or not, Sarah.
No.
He says...
So
yeah.
I must have.
Yeah.
What did you hear last?
You were just saying you thought that they were going to try to open doors into that place.
Mm-hmm. Do you suppose you can pinpoint where they are looking from? And I'm acting very much like the mental patient that he thinks I am at this point, but she has no cares about it.
He says, this looks promising, right over here. And as you turn, you find yourself with a whoosh traveling quickly to this other pillar. And there you are, atop the pillar. Indeed, you see your wretched aunts on the pillar around a table with a person you don't recognize engaging in some sort of spiritism and other chicanery. But what they're really doing is they are using this hostess of theirs as a vessel through which to power their magic. And if they were to turn around right now and look at you, they would probably see you.
I think offhandedly and without thought, Victoria would say, perhaps even to herself, oh, they can't even do little things by themselves. They need a vessel for everything.
And he says, oh, look, it Looks like it's time for tarot cards.
I think at this point, observing my aunts both in this space and then kind of like their disembodied, like at a table sitting on top of this pillar, obviously somewhere else in London, I want to see if there are any like metaphysical threads or where they're directing their power from, or see if I can observe any clues.
One
that
of your
way.
aunts, you can't tell which is which because they're all wearing these heavy veils, but one of them has pulled out tarot cards indeed. And Phineas says, I wonder if you could control the outcome from here. What might look like chance to the person being read, or what they might perceive as communication with the subconscious or the spirit world, is in fact you manipulating the answer.
Victoria considers this and focuses all of her attention on the card her aunt, it's Isadora, she's shorter, pulls from the deck, and seeing if she can create a representation of that tarot card clue that she found in Kilburn Abbey, in which it is just a cross that is consistently upside down no matter which way you turn it, symbolizing both my aunt's evil in the world and presenting an actual miracle for this poor hostess.
Yeah, it does. And the three of them get really quiet and they begin conferring. They were not expecting this to happen. And I think when they pull another card, it's that same card. And they pull another card and it's that same card. And you can see a tremble in Isadora's hand. There's something at work here, something that they were not expecting. But you hear one of them say, it is as we suspected. It is the tower brought forth. That's your clue. That phrase.
Okay.
That's your first clue. Yeah,
yeah,
one
yeah.
or two. We'll come back to this. Okay, where do we leave everybody? We know what Jakob is. Jakob's dealing with Patrick. Lady Florence is eating a pie. The dance, Aiden. Describe it.
So I think it starts out as a pretty impressive kind of traditional Irish dance. Lots of kicking, lots of jumping, and Aiden will apologize for not having the right shoes. But eventually it's going to kind of become very interpretive, and he's going to go around to everyone and try and entice them to dance with him. And if anyone does give in, he'll try and like watch them and try and mimic a little. And he's pretty good, not like professional level, but maybe in a couple of years he could be.
There's the expressions of all the cast members and the director who are watching you transition from mockery to mild bemusement to faint but genuine appreciation for what you've managed to do today on the stage. Someone up in the box is really pleased with your performance. You hear them call down, "Bravo! Bravo! You and that lovely young singer to your left should come up to the boxes and celebrate." And you can disregard her as you wish, but in any case, what do you do? You have their defenses down.
As he stands there kind of panting and looking very pleased and just thrilled at getting the opportunity, he's going to kind of not even obliquely inquire about a one-armed woman.
Very good. I love it. Make the information move with presence.
Yes, her there. The one with the very fine cheekbones.
He'll look back in the direction and then your cheekbones are quite nice.
Lovely skin from where I'm sitting.
That is a 9.
A 9, very good. Yeah. Give you your clue. That same singer will know who you're talking about. She says, "Oh, I know who you're talking about. I remember seeing her come by here from time to time. A one-armed woman, especially one so tall as she, really sticks out."
I imagine so. You're all rather short.
And she kind of gives a shy smile. She says, what did you want to know about her? Is she a relation of yours?
No, but we are looking for a relation of hers.
Oh. Oh, how interesting. Well, I don't know how much help I can be, but she cut a very interesting figure, for reasons not the least of which is the fact that she was always seen wearing a wedding dress. That's your clue. A beautiful old thing. Vintage, I should think.
Are those traditional wear for dancing?
I suppose at a wedding it is. You don't get out much, do you? You're not from around here, I take it.
I'm not.
Well, my name is Jessica.
My name is Aiden.
That's a nice name, Aiden. Where are you from?
Thank you. Scotland.
And she goes to shake your hand and withdraws momentarily because I think your hand is quite wet. But then she doesn't want to seem rude, so she doesn't pull away completely. And she says, "Ah, lovely country. I love the moors."
Yes. They are there.
What do you... Well, we're just about done with our rehearsal and we don't have a performance tonight. I'd love to show you around the town, around the city a bit. You can tell me of Scotland.
Oh, yes, that sounds wonderful.
All right. And so yeah, that's the deal. I'm gonna give you a your complication on the clue is just that you are now marked by Jessica. I think she has her eye on you. You tall drink of water. um, let's figure out. I think maybe that's it for the day phase. Is there any other little last minute quick things anybody wants scene wise, or are we all good?
I was thinking to like actually lure out Larson.
Lartons,
Oh,
yeah. that was bad.
Yes, here. It was bad. I wasn't looking at it, and yeah, memory did not serve me. Because here's the thing. I've got this ornate monogrammed lace handkerchief which is
very good. Yeah.
like a calling into her past. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I doesn't have to be in the day, but especially since we're at the opera, and if I were to catch a glimpse of someone, I think I would try and
I mean, I like the idea of if you just want to set up the night phase and say that you, now that you know what to look for, you catch a glimpse of white,
mm-hmm.
somebody skulking about in a tall person in a white gown.
Okay.
And then so you can kind of track them a little bit more. So yeah,
I just need one more clue.
that's right. We'll wrap up with you, and then that'll be the day phase. But I think Jakob's kind of, and everybody else is pretty well good. So they make this comment about the tower coming forth, whatever that means. That witch talk, who knows? But in any case, it's your clue. And Phineas says, I see an arched eyebrow. I gather this has some relevance to you or significance.
Possibly. They do talk in circles.
And he says, there is another watching you. Not these.
Victoria looks over her shoulder.
You are the sort of person who gathers attention to herself. You are a remarkable woman. I would like to extend my offer to you yet again. To come back with me, and I will make you a star. The big eyeball says.
Well, that's certainly nicer than you were to me last time we met.
Well,
Phineas. No longer think that I'm fit for the mental wards.
no. I will confess that I perhaps judged you too harshly then. But I can see now that you are a singular individual, remarkable in every way.
Victoria has not taken her eyes off of her aunt, silently kind of making motions with cards and seance nonsense. And when he says this, she will cast him a sharp look and look him straight into his eyeball and say that I have had many offers to both travel and see the stars, but this is the first one I've had to be one. No, unfortunately, I must solve this. Unfortunately, it's a mess of my own doing, and I cannot abide inflicting these terrible witches on anyone else.
He goes into his pocket, and it's hard to read his expression, but he pulls his hand out and says, I was just going to check my pocket watch for the time, but it's no longer there. And here you see one of your aunts pulling a gold pocket watch out of her sleeve. And she speaks aloud. You're running out of time, niece.
I think in a panic, Victoria claps her hands together and snaps back into Hargrave House, fleeing as fast as she can.
The pocket watch and that whole scene, you can interpret it however you want, but that's your clue.
Thank you.
I think that will wrap our day phase. And so why don't we go ahead and swing right over into dusk. Do we have any playbook moves that need to be resolved in the dusk phase?
I
Nope.
think I probably won't be putting on my pelt tonight. So
Okay. Let's talk about Hargrave House. The gardens. Being in the gardens is like being totally disconnected from the stink and grime of London. Is that reassuring to you, or does it make you feel uncomfortable, and why?
For Jakob, it's reassuring. It's a small bit like being back in Wales. Could use some fresh salt air, perhaps. We should definitely see about whether we can get some sheep grazing back here. But the greenery is definitely refreshing.
Victoria enjoys the disconnection from London proper. It gives her a moment's peace where it doesn't feel like all of the eyes are upon her.
I think Aiden loves it, loves the smell, loves the deadening of the noise. It just feels closer to places he's more comfortable in.
I think that there's a fountain with seaweed growing in it. There's some Venusian fly traps. There are any number of species and specimens from Lady Florence's travels. And so I think that this is a way that like she can kind of like be in one place at for this like prolonged period of time while still feel like the gardens are certainly reassuring for her, and that it makes her feel like she is still traveling, exploring in all of these remote places that she has been.
Nice. Okay. Wait, did you say, Aiden?
That he enjoys it. It's comforting.
What's everyone going to do during this night phase? Lady Florence, you going to go hunting La Hortensia?
I think that yes. And then I have a pitch on Obert
Oh, I can do that.
to
Yeah.
potentially chain the two of these together.
I love it. Do you want to go ahead and try to answer that question? What's your thought? You got
Here's
three
my
clues.
pitch. What type of victim does Obert Fig prefer? Ones that remind him of his mother.
Oh, very good.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it ties into all three clues that are here and then gives me a reason to capture La Hortensia and use her as the
bait
lure.
to get him.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will say she has blonde hair. Obviously, maybe eating his mom's arm had a particular effect on him. Patrick probably had a different response. Patrick withdrew from the trauma. Obert leaned in. So, and what's the wedding dress connection?
I think it's one of the moments that they probably were able to invest in a photograph.
Oh, good. I
And
love it.
so
Yeah,
there
great.
are these prints of her wearing the wedding dress that even when they're apart, he is reminded of her.
Fantastic. Roll +1.
Oh, God.
You did this to yourself, Mike.
7, 8.
Okay, it's correct. Obviously he's going to fight you, but you now have the ability to wrap this threat entirely tonight if you wish, unless I have other plans for tonight. But I don't know yet. So, but we know what you're going to do though, so that's great. Jakob, what are you going to do?
If we're trying to wrap up Obert, I'd be happy to confront Obert again.
So you and Lady
Otherwise-
Florence hunting
Yeah, otherwise
together?
my thought had been to go after another clue at Bedlam Hospital, but I don't think we need it.
I don't think
anymore.
no, there's no more.
Yeah.
There's no more questions. So yeah. Sounds good. Ms. Balakwa, what about you?
I want to. am single-mindedly trying to shut down my aunts at every possible aspect, ignoring the rest of Hargrave House. I've been kind of obsessive.
You have a lot
So
of
I-
clues, so
Yeah. I think Beacon in the Night is probably how I'm going to do it.
good.
Do
Wrap
the
it up.
move.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that. Aiden McPhee, you going on a date?
I suppose so, but I wonder if perhaps Lady Florence could be using this to her advantage because Jessica has blonde hair and fine cheekbones.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead and continue with the phase. Janice Mask prompts. I know everybody has to do Mask of the Pig. For people watching the video, I'll just read what it is so that everyone knows what to look forward to. Mask of the Pig says, each hunter narrates a dream about the pagan swine god Mok. Did Mok demand a sacrifice of riches, status, or blood? What did they each sacrifice? So you all have to do that at some point, and then a few of you might have other Janice Mask prompts that you have to do as well. You can do those now, or you can wait until the dawn. It's up to you, or some combination thereof. No takers now?
I don't have it yet.
Yeah, give me a little more time to flesh out details. I know what it's going to be, but I want to make it a little more epic.
Let's talk about the unseen then. Tonight's unseen. Feels like we haven't done unseen in ages. Tonight's unseen is going to be the dinner party. This is line 21. Eric Taylor has a good job as a clerk, and with his wife Abigail, they form the very picture of the respectable new Victorian middle class. Behind the lace curtains of their terrace home, they are throwing a small dinner party for equally respectable friends, the Davenports. The Taylor's daughter, Maud, plays piano passively in the parlor before dinner is served. Everyone does prompt 1. Prompt 2 will be Ben. Prompt 3 will be Sarah. And prompt 4 will be Brian. All right. Let's go ahead and take 5, and we'll come back and do the night phase. Everyone, as the Taylors and the Davenports enter the dining room, what do we see that shows the Taylors have made their best efforts to impress, and how do we know the Davenports are a rung above them in terms of wealth and prestige?
I'll start. I think that the dining room has been laid with an abundance of flowers and vases that are too large for the table. Like you can't make eye contact with the person. They've really gone all out for abundance. But as I'm sorry, I forget who's who. The Taylors are hosting.
The Davenports are the rich ones, the Taylors are the hosts. Yeah.
As the Davenports go in, you can see tiny little micro expressions on Mrs. Davenport's face about, oh, Willow. You know, it seems like she's being very critical of the type of flowers.
That baby's breath.
Precisely that.
And notoriously cheap flower and floral arrangements.
I think the odor of cooking food. Mrs. Davenport says, "Oh, I smell ham," and Mrs. Taylor says, "Yes, got the choicest cuts from Mayfair Butchers." Maud kind of perks up and says, "Oh, Mayfair, wow!" And Mrs. Davenport says, "I'm sure it'll be fine."
As the Davenports enter, Mrs. Davenport looks down, taking in the shoes of the Taylors. The Davenports all have clean, barely worn shoes, whereas the Taylors have shoes that show months, perhaps even a year of use. While the shoes are clean, Eric's shoes show signs of having been repaired, possibly by himself.
We should give the tailors some credit though. There's a very popular new damask jacquard that has been unavailable. No one can get it for the longest time, and it's finally starting to pop up in markets. And the tablecloth is made of this, and they seem very impressed with it. They even one of them points it out. But what we can see on the Davenports is the new damask pattern, seals moving through seaweed in various elements of their clothing that is completely unavailable right now.
Let's set up our night phase. Aiden, you meet Jessica at a restaurant. I imagine you have not eaten at many restaurants in your days. What about this restaurant seems like a wonder to you?
I think they have I think they have some new Venusian cooking implements in the kitchen. So the food is not only just abnormal for Aiden, it is the newest method of cooking, and the food that comes to the table, it's still hot, really hot. And the soups are just almost right off the boil. He's never seen food so clearly well prepared.
Lady Florence, this young woman, Jessica, that Aiden is going out on a date with, would fit the bill to some degree of what Obert likes. But what might you do to sweeten this honeypot to make sure that Obert is attracted to this particular person? And I'm also curious about how you're going to get La Hortensia there as well. So what are you doing right now?
Think.
And does Aiden know that this is bait? Have you left Aiden out of the dark, or left him in the dark on this?
I don't know. That's interesting, Aiden. How innocent are you really?
I don't think he would be on board with a plan to use Jessica.
All right.
So then you don't tell him.
I don't tell him. We all know Lady Florence at this point. Yeah, I think maybe I gift her I digging through the wardrobes in Hargrave House, and I find a sort of like silk white silk embroidery shawl,
Something for to wear.
something to just kind of like nudge it towards like whatever she's wearing towards that like wedding dress realm.
Yeah, Jessica says to you, Aiden, this is beautiful. You didn't have to bring this for me. We've only just met.
Oh, I was told it's tradition in these kind of situations.
Nice. What are you doing right now, Jakob?
Ooh, I want to kind of check with our group. Our plan is to capture Hortensia with the hope that then brings in Obert with the, like, we're trying to do both.
I mean, I think they're kind of trying to do a 2-for-1 here, basically, with Jessica. Right?
Yeah. Since I've seen Obert before, I think my move is to kind of linger oddly in the shadows, trying to kind of, I'm anticipating him from another ally since that was his method before. Yeah, just try to, remain a bit out of sight, but not too far away.
Speaking of remaining a bit out of sight, you see Sally No Face sneaking into the back of the restaurant. What the hell's she doing here?
I was gonna have to let Sally out.
Meanwhile, Ms. Balakwa, you're doing Beacon in the Night, one of my favorite moves in the game.
Mhm.
And it says, or Beacon in the Dark. When you walk the streets of London at night, your consciousness spreading across the city like a vast spider web. Please roll with sensitivity.
I will do. Splendid. That's a 9 plus 3 is lots.
That's 12 plus, which doesn't matter for this move, but on a hit, you are immediately confronted by a threat or a personified danger related to the threat. You may ask them 2 questions from the list below. They will not answer directly, but rather in the form of a clue. On a 10 plus, they will depart as soon as the questions are answered. Give me the scene first. We're going to interpret immediately a little broadly here. What does it look like and feel like as you do this? And how in particular are you trying to draw your aunts to you?
So our last connection through the fragrant void leaves Victoria thinking that she can use the dark spirits within her to reach through that kind of void space again and make contact, perhaps even drawing my aunts to me through that connection again. I'm holding Phineas's pocket watch in one hand and a lantern in the other as I wander out into the streets, and standing below a gas lamp as before. You can see those dark tendrils extending out into the fog underneath her skirts and winding into alleys and down the stairs of dirt cellars. And she holds up a gloved hand, blows out the lantern, and then the street lights start to go out around her as well. And her skin begins to glow as she moves through, creating herself into a, well, literal beacon.
Nice. I love it. Let's go back to that dinner party, shall we? Ben, Mrs. Taylor, and Mrs. Davenport hate one another. How do they subtly lash out over the course of dinner without drawing attention or causing a scene?
Only when Mrs. Davenport is looking will Mrs. Taylor repeatedly, openly touch Mr. Davenport, just as part of conversation, just a hand on his arm, or, reach out and just brush his shoulder and look over at Mrs. Taylor, at Mrs. Davenport pointedly. In return, after food is being served, Mrs. Davenport routinely and pointedly takes a sip of water and coughs slightly after every bite of food.
I love it. Aiden, you and Jessica, your table is approached by a mechanical maitre d', a clockwork man on spider legs who walks up to you, and they have tried to minimize his strange, possibly horrifying appearance by putting a little black bow tie around his neck. And he says, "Good evening, sir. Good evening, madam. Have you enjoyed your meal so far?"
Aiden is just like taking this all in, just looking at him super closely. I think he'll even lean forward to get a better look at the legs and say, "Oh, you are very exciting."
Jessica says, "The meal was lovely, thank you. I would love some more wine." And the maitre d' says, "I shall let your waiter know right away." And it sort of like makes scratching noises on the wood floor with its metal legs as it spider walks away from your table.
Just amazing. Look at all those legs. How does it balance?
Jakob, you see Sally No Face sneaking into the back of the restaurant. What do you do?
She's up to no good again. She's fallen off the path to what do you say, restoring herself. I need to go help her out, so I'm gonna go in after her.
You go around a corner and you find out that your lure worked a little too well. There is lying in the alley, a very tall woman wearing a wedding dress soaked with blood from her own neck and only one arm. It is definitely La Hortensia Fig, dead in the alley, throat cut. But that part of the mystery is resolved, that part of the threat. I would like the night move. Jakob, what are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your composure here?
Oh man. Sally escapes into the night with Obert and they go on a killing spree.
It's worse than that. Sally very pointedly disconnects from her minder at Hargrave House.
Gotcha.
Go ahead and roll with composure.
Right.
And let's take a look at your
9
stuff
plus-
here. You're okay condition wise.
plus 1. So
If you have
10.
something from your personal quarters, this might be the time to use it. You have a lot of stuff, so
I do. Does any of this make sense though?
yeah, that's the trick. that's the trick.
I do. Oh, you know what I do have? I mean, I've got a 10 already, but if we're after even higher numbers, I've got that gold embossed card from her art exhibit.
Okay.
It's unmarked again since my last advancement.
Oh, that's why it's all unmarked. Oh, because you took that advancement.
Yeah,
I was like, Mash, have you not been using all your stuff?
Yeah. No, it's just
this will keep you alive though. So yeah.
That's not. So could pull out that gold embossed card with Sally. I thought at the least you'd be inviting people if you're
getting ready to do your that's good. I like it. So if you like encounter her, you can kind of play that card, so to speak.
Doesn't change the dice roll though.
Okay. I like it though. I like that as we'll have that actually. I like that as a like confrontation scene. We'll frame that up next time. In the meantime, Lady Florence, you'll see Obert. He's sticking to the shadows of the restaurant, but it's unmistakably him. He's wearing a leather apron. He might look like he's part of the kitchen staff, but it's definitely him. What do you do?
I mean, Lady Florence is feeling a little tense right now. She's looking around for Jakob because the way that this was supposed to work is that Lady Florence was going to take care of La Hortensia and Jakob was going to take care of Obert. And Lady Florence is a little bit of a panic. But that said, she is going to, I'm kind of assuming that there's some type of like balcony level upstairs type of thing, and I just want to end it quick for poor Obert, and I want to drop a bowling ball on his head as he passes.
Do you have a bowling ball?
I have a bowling ball.
Very good, very good. So you're going to try to cave in his skull.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's not graceful. She's not feeling comfortable about this at all, but given the situation, she just wants this whole fig situation done with.
It's a night move with vitality. What do you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
Drop the ball at someone else?
Yeah, that feels about right. Oh, I think you might make your move right when he's getting ready to make his move on Jessica, and that might be where the bowling ball ends up. Go ahead and roll with vitality.
All right. It's a lot. 12 plus.
Nice. We'll come back to this. Ms. Balakwa. The whole part of the street you're on, all of the people around you start to fade away as if they are shadows running from the sun. everything starts to bend and bleed. And what looks like dark fog on the ground you see now is actually slick, writhing tentacles whirling and reaching. And rising up out of this darkness, like Nosferatu from his coffin, are your aunts, the heavy black veils over their faces. Hello, niece.
Hello, witches.
We were not yet ready to confront you in this way, and yet we have been improbably, powerfully drawn to the energy you are putting out into the world tonight. You are truly remarkable.
Yes, well, while your tutelage was bracing at times and horrifying at the worst of them, I have learned much in the years that have passed since then.
And you'll see that they have with them a boy, just some street kid. You think you're better than us, don't you?
I think I am more powerful than I was when I knew you last. But I think that my fear is that I am precisely like you.
Indeed. And the aunt who has the boy, she draws him close, enveloping him in her black robes or her black skirts, and she begins stroking his hair. He's in a weird sort of catatonic state. He doesn't really know what's going on. We are compelled to answer your questions, niece. So spit them at us now so we can be done with this.
But Agatha, I was enjoying having you under my thumb for a change. You won't let me savor it just for a moment longer? Fine. What do you want from the Martian?
Good. And with that, we shall go back over to the dinner party. Sarah, Maud and the Davenport's son, Alexander, both chafe under the expectations of their parents. As the meal draws to a close, how do we see this is expressed in their conversation or petty acts of rebellion?
I suspect the reason that these two families dine together so often is the mothers have an idea that their children are just perfectly matched for each other. And neither Maud or Alexander really care for this idea. So while they'll make polite conversation as the meal wears on and they've had a couple glasses of wine, I think that they spend most of their time acting as inappropriately as they can societally get away with. So in this case, Maud takes a sip of wine and then burps out loud at the table. I'm so sorry. And Alexander might comment about how she's just oh no, of course you're forgiven. But I do hope that there's cherry pie for dessert, and then looks at her very sexually and inappropriately for family dinner. And this becomes their little rival game of pissing off their parents.
Jessica leans in, Aiden. She says, "This is really wonderful. I'm so happy you agreed to come out tonight."
Yes, this is quite exciting. I've never seen a creature like that, a machine man. Fascinating.
Yes, things are Things are changing very fast in London.
I suppose they must be.
But one thing hasn't changed.
What's that?
The desire for companionship to alleviate loneliness. I've been in the city by myself for so long now. You seem like you've been alone for a long time too.
Oh, no, really, just 3 days. And then, well, I found Lady Florence very quickly, actually. And now I have new people that I share a house with.
Oh, well. Would you be interested in doing this again?
Oh, I think so very much, yes.
Okay, good. At this point, Aiden, it means nothing to you, but you see Obert approaching from behind. He just grabs the decanter of wine from the waiter, and the waiter just kind of looks like dumbfounded. And Obert walks up with his blood encrusted apron, tall and lanky, and he says, I gather you wish to suckle from the vine. And he begins pouring the wine into your goblets. And he just touches Jessica's hair, because that's an appropriate thing for a waiter to do. What lovely hair you have. My goodness. So flaxen like corn silk. What are you doing, Aiden?
I think he's confused at first. Obviously, he would be aware of Obert in the general sense, but it's when he touches Jessica and there's an ownership in the touch that he sees, and it just fills him with dread and anger, and he's just going to say, get away from her.
He says, you smell like a can of tuna.
Thank you.
And here, Lady Florence, you can dispatch Obert and indeed wrap up this threat. What does it look like?
Just awkwardly just holding this bowling ball out from over the banister and just kind of like eyeing, and she sees the expression on Aiden's face. She sees that little bit of like puzzled bewilderment kind of like shift to that sort of like that anger and that hostility. And the second that she sees that, she's almost distracted and just slides her hands up, and that ball just goes thwomp. And you can just, I mean, it's a full story up. Like,
Oh, yeah.
This is loud. The attention of the entire restaurant is on this spot where a man's head has been caved in by some object that I think no one can even process. Why would there
Yeah.
even be a bowling ball in a restaurant?
You hear the crack of his neck and the crack of his skull as it caves in, and he just slams down onto the table between you and Jessica. She screams. What do you, well, Aiden, I want the night move from you. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
I don't think Aiden is afraid of this, but Ben would be afraid that Aiden, this is too much, and he's leaving. He's fucking right back to Scotland.
Mm-hmm. Roll with composure.
Well, it's been fun, y'all.
What'd you get?
5.
A 5. I assume you're gonna put on a mask, but
I'm going to put on a mask.
I don't even know how to like narrate this except just to say that like I mean we'll just leave the scene there for now. Jakob, Sally sees you looking over the body of La Hortensia and she says,
Oh, I'm a creature of habit, Mr. Walsh. I've missed my opportunity to take the face of that lovely young thing Mr. McPhee is dining with.
Sadly, I had such high hopes that there was a chance for you to reform, but it seems no.
From a strictly outcomes-based perspective, Mr. Walsh, I have dispatched one of the figs, and I have not done any particular violence to anyone else.
But you
Perhaps we just go back to the way things were.
Jakob kind of, possibly for the first time, starts to lose his patience and you know, is going off for a while, but kind of shouting, and his breath hits that supernatural, like, gale force winds level. And I think the plan here is to not necessarily deliberately, but to yell and shout and pin her against the wall. And so he's yelling, these Martian invectives coming out of his mouth, and words he didn't even know he knew, and says, you've had every chance to do good, and you just refuse to, and it's clear this is not working. And then in his anger, the hammer of Gantos comes down and smashes into Sally.
oh. The ants will answer your first question, which was, remind me the question again.
What do you want from the Martian?
Oh, that's right.
Mm.
Very interesting indeed. I have to answer in the form of a clue. Surely we taught you better than this, niece. Are you so preoccupied with the veil, with the realms of darkness, that you can't see what is quite literally beneath your feet? And for the first time, you'll notice the water, there's water pooled up on the ground. Maybe there was just a rain. But it's flowing the wrong way. She says, ever since Mr. Walsh arrived in London, the natural world has responded in strange ways. Say your next question or the boy dies.
I think Victoria will dramatically sigh, as only an impatient ward could. Like, she's kind of reverting back to her teenage angst of like, it's fine. This is something I have always wanted to know. What frightens you, dear aunts? What on earth could chill the blood, the cold sludge that pumps through your grievously evil veins? What on earth could frighten such evil beings as you?
They recede into the darkness, the shadowy tendrils enclosing them. And they'll speak. We are scared of the same thing you are, niece. We are scared of what lies in the West. And then they disappear. They leave the boy. Let's make our last trip to the dinner party, and this will wrap the night phase. We're not going to do anything after that. Mr. Davenport and Mr. Taylor withdraw into Taylor's study for port and cigars alone. Alone, how do they expose the vices they hide from society to one another?
So they're, got that glass of port in one hand, cigar in the other, and smoking. And Davenport says, that ham, smoked ham really was quite lovely. Reminds me of a club that I'm a member of on a similar topic of smoked ham. Some might say infernal swine. And takes a puff on his cigar and sort of waits, seeing if the message gets through that he's secretly a follower of the god Mok. And the club he's referring to is this group of demonic worshippers. Mr. Taylor kind of misunderstands and says, I also am a member of a club, and smoked ham is a part of my club membership as well. Are we talking eye to eye? He takes a long dramatic drag on his cigar, and they chat a little bit longer, and Mr. Davenport finally realizes that Mr. Taylor is actually talking about a sex club, that smoked ham is a reference to oral sex. And at this moment, when they realize that they misunderstood each other, Mr. Davenport says, I think you misunderstand my meaning in the word smoke. And Mr. Taylor says, I think you misunderstand my meaning of the word ham.
Fabulous. What an interesting note to end on. And so, in the interest of time, because we're at our session length now, we will do the dawn phase and the Janus mask things that are owed next time. I will note here now, though, that everyone hit Echoes in the Night. I'm pretty sure I picked up on something for everybody, so we'll know that. And so let's just slide over into Stars and Wishes. Who wants to go first?
I'll start. I love us. I love our puns. All of that was great. There was just too much punny, both in the chat and then all of the folding in of echoing of skins and pelts. And that was set off right off the bat with Lady Florence. Mike, you said, maybe it's knife time. And I had to write that down because that just made me happy. Much like Sally No Face trying to get herself preoccupied with arranging flowers, Lady Florence is just onto her next fad, distracting her from the fact that she's not exploring. And it just, very, very cool. There was the flipper clap that Brian was miming in the back that we were all snickering at. That was hilarious. A star to Aiden in general. Like, we didn't need another hopelessly naive character, but I'm so glad we got one. I think that there is a lot of just really good role play from the jump of like figuring out that you have to put the left shoe on the left foot, and like those sorts of details are just super great. What else? I had another one for the Martian curses in the alley with Sally No Face when you finally lost your temper, Jakob, and that you all of your cursing and your final rage actually is expressing as Martian instead of as this human fallacy is really cool too. I love all of this witchy stuff. I'm excited to like get the coven under our belt and finally deal with the lingering Jazad issues that we haven't really addressed in a minute. So it'll be fun to see. Like, my wish is a lot of like, ooh, I wonder what Jazad's been up to. He's probably got a lot more plans and stuff in play since we last saw him. So I'm excited to see all of that get flushed out. And yeah, just good time all around.
I really love the star for like this. This session had a really like lighthearted tone in a lot of ways, which I think was great. And you know, intercut with the darkness, but there was definitely like a lighter feel, which I think was appropriate considering this is the session after what we did with the Wolf King. And so I really quite enjoyed that. I'm loving Aiden so far. Great character. The response to Obert when he said you smelled like fish or like tuna, you were like, thank you. That was really great. Loved all the stuff with Sally No Face and all that business was really fun to play off of the other characters during those scenes. That was quite enjoyable. Oh, and also Phineas and Ms. Balakwa, that was really fun to play too. Just some good stuff there. And my wish is, I think I'm mostly just curious, very curious how the Coven's going to wrap up because it's pretty close. And yeah, I too am, I tried to like bring some more of the Jazad, the Venusian stuff back in today. And so I think that's going to become like even more prominent as we head towards the final confrontation with the Mastermind. So.
I will go. I loved the opening scene we got between Lady Florence and Sally to begin with. I just love Lady Florence's always looking for an angle to make someone useful in fun ways. It's such a good bit of her character. Also, star and anti-star for the bowling ball. Just did not see that coming. I remember when that was given to you, I was like, that's gonna be really hard to use. Nope. Really easy, apparently. Yeah, I really enjoy. I'm looking forward to playing more off Jakob. I think, especially as Jakob has become less
Less
of that
naive,
kind of,
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how the two non-humans interact. And the scene with Phineas, and also the scene with the avatar, the personification of the threat of your aunts or your aunt, whichever way it was. I really enjoyed seeing you have that, and also asking them what they are afraid of and getting a really interesting answer. Definitely hope that comes up. There's a wish. Yeah, this was fun. I'm looking forward to seeing this new Hargrave House configuration continue for at least a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Up in the Sally No Face working with the Jello mold, like brought back a 1970s level horror of.
Yeah, I love that she was just doing this whole like Martha Stewart situation at Hargrave House is kind of great.
Yeah. It's been mentioned, but the multiple different uses of skin and sort of skin that's been removed and is serving a different purpose was really interesting. What else? I thought I liked how Sarah framed up the like her vice, the sex with dark entities, as a hard one to be like, hey there, fellow Hargrave House, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to? So I thought that we came up with a pretty good way, like her idea of framing it like that was nice. She also wrote in the chat, Aiden does the worm as his dance move. That's just, that was another reason we lost it laughing. And then Lady Florence is interested in knife finding. Also the how do I eat a pie? That idea that, you know, you've just never seen an extremely common food stuff is fabulous. There was an idea that I had that we don't need it for clues anymore, but I had an idea to take Patrick to Bedlam to visit his father Titus. And maybe that is a wish for sort of a closure moment to reunite the last two surviving figs. So maybe a scene with that later. And then more Jasad, we have to confront Jasad.
I guess for me, kind of a like broad star to the character interaction motifs. I think has kind of been mentioned, but like a particular star for Sarah tapping on the Lady Florence was always following Dom, and now Aiden is following Lady Florence, because that kind of gives me some ideas. Like, it's always interesting when a new character, or even when you're starting a campaign, is sort of like, how do we interact? Like, what is the point of this interaction? And I think we had sort of like developed a thing with Dom and Lady Florence and like that configuration, and the way that all is sort of like reversing. I think that the other star here is that there's like this theme of like the awareness of the characters unfolding, and the doom as their sort of like awareness of who they are and what's going on is going on. So we certainly have that with Victoria and with Jakob as well, where like there's this awareness level. And I think that having somebody new and innocent like Aiden come into the mix, like that scene with the shoes and showing him how to tie his shoes and apparently still getting two different shoes. There's this aspect of like Jakob is now, like, he was always the innocent one, but he's reached this level of awareness where he's not the innocent one anymore. I think that's really interesting, and there's a lot to play with on that front, and just all the little ways as we're sort of trying to figure out how this new configuration interacts, that it like very quickly, we're so far in the campaign, like it could just feel weird, but like it very quickly like locked into this other configuration, or is in the process of kind of like locking and fitting into this other configuration. So just star for everybody playing into that. I think, I mentioned this earlier, my wish is to check off every box on my character sheet. So there's going to be a lot of personal quarters items that are going to be used in weird and unexpected ways, because that's what I got left, everyone.
That's what they're there for.
So yeah, that I think that my wish is that I do get opportunity, but I think that there's also I'm kind of excited for the dramatic end of Lady Florence as well, which is certainly looming and hanging overhead. And now with presumably Jasad coming back into view, I think that that's going to, become very heightened, and I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Fantastic. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, then we will go ahead and wave goodbye to folks watching the video.